Roberta's title today is A Golden Point of View, Tips and Trials on Working in Gold Gesso. Roberta began her artistic journey in oils in the 1970s, and eventually health concerns caused her to abandon oils. After discovering the brilliance and transparency of watercolor, her excitement with the magic of watercolor emerged. As a child, Roberta dreamed of being a teacher and served 30 years in public education in Alabama and Georgia, and today continues to pursue her love of teaching and is now sharing with others her passion for watercolor. Her goal is to help artists have fun and be courageous as they develop their own personal style by exploring a variety of techniques and styles, various artists, periods of art, and finding colors that express their uniqueness. She's been an instructor at the Beach Art Center in Indian Rocks Beach since 2012 and has previously taught at Pinellas Park Art Society, various churches, retiree communities, and she has received multiple awards locally, district-wide, and with Florida Watercolor Society.
So excited. Okie dokie. Thank you. I'm not used to being mic'd. As a teacher, you had to learn to project, and you sure had to learn to talk over the kids if they were, having a moment. Okay, let's get started. I took a workshop with, and of course it just went out of my brain, COVID brain. We were just talking about this as I walked in. Patty, who did I tell you I took that? You don't remember either? Anyway, I took a workshop on gold gesso probably 8, 9, 10 years ago and fell in love with it. And at that time, this was this old bag here, Holbein gold acrylic was the one that we used. And we got this at Keaton, so this is a little bit old. And so the last time I was going to do a painting, I really had to scrape this. So I kept looking. You can't get this anymore. It might be, for whatever reason, I don't know. It may come back, but couldn't get that. But now, Daniel Smith makes a product, and it's called acrylic gold gesso as well. And I really like this one. So I wanted to show you the two gold gessos. Can you see the difference here? Oh, that's a good reason. Oh. Now you can see the difference? Okay. So this is the Holbein. It's a darker value. It's a little more reddish, I guess. And this is the Daniel Smith. It's a lighter value, and it's a little more yellow gold. And I like that better because when I first started off, I really struggled with, this is already your mid-tone. Still can't see? Stop. No. We have a difficult class.
How about now? How about now? Okay, now. She's the guinea pig for the day. Get this right now. Is that perfect?
Good? Don't move. Mary Lou Ringer. See? I knew it'd come back to me. I tell my kids when, my grandkids and great-grandkids, I forget something, they'll say, why are you so forgetful? I said, well, let me tell you this. You have one filing cabinet in your room, and it's got maybe 2 drawers of the 4 drawers filled. I have 20 filing cabinets in my room. All 4 drawers are filled. So it takes me a while to get to the right filing cabinet and the right drawer to remember what it was I was going to say. But anyway, that's just what I tell them. Okay, so I ended up loving the Daniel Smith gold gesso better than the Holbein because the value is already a little lighter. Like I said, when I first started out, though, I struggled a little bit with that value. But now I know that when I'm going to do gold gesso, I have to plan when I'm looking at my photographs that I'm going to do or whatever. I have to plan on that is my medium value right there. But we have a few tricks we can use to also, like this one. I love this picture. I was out with my great-grandson. We were walking. The shadows and the palms were great. But it really didn't work out because it's too much the same value. So I have to come up with another plan for that one. All right. Another thing to consider, although I have my problem solved, I always do 2 coats of the gold gesso. This is 140 paper. And I tried, this was an old one as well. And I did 2 coats, but when I did my ghosting, it was perfect. Laid it down to dry. When I came back, it had buckled. But now if you were here last night, Mark says if you put 2 coats on the back side as well, it won't do that. But so my solution was I always go on 300 pound now. So that makes life easy. Okay, let's see. Let's kind of get started here so that we can see what's going to go on. All right, I kind of pre-did some of this already because I knew there's no way I can paint this whole thing in 45 minutes. So we're going to go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the darker green colors because if you took Mark's demo, you know how much fun it is to use stenciling and things. I'm pretty, where is my, oh, here it is. We're going to go here. And so I'm just going to go in. This is sap green. I'm just going to, and my back's going to kill me in a minute because, but I came prepared. Got to be prepared for everything as an artist, right? So I throw in a little bit of the green. It's going to go up here. Let me come up here. And just a few spots. And then I'm going to come over with some of my Quin Gold because I love what Quin Gold does in sap green. Well, if I can get some dug up in there. And there we go. And then I'm going to throw in a little bit of Quin Sienna. I love Quin Sienna, one of my favorite colors. Oh, I shouldn't have put it there, but that's all right. And then I think this is in the background. I'm going to add just a touch of blue because I want to push it back just a little bit. And I just kind of slop it on a little bit. And then I come on up with my fun little stencils. Now, when I get stencils, I don't like having that edge show. That makes me crazy. So I cut off everything except for one little tag that I can pick it up with. And then that way, and this part is always off, or I have it on top of another one so that that line doesn't show up because, like I said, I just don't like that. I'm going to throw that one down here. I like this little one here. I'm going to put that one in, and then this is my snakeskin stencil. And then I'm going to push these down a little bit. Now, I'm going to let that dry, but I can come back, which I do a lot, and I'll come back. I'll go with a little more gold here, and I'll push a little more color in there just to make sure I don't want it to all be the same value. I want to really let the pigment move in that stencil so that the pigment will move towards the edge of the stencil, and that's what makes those fun little marks. And I left a little gold in there because I do want, you know, I'm painting on gold gesso, you want some of that to come through. And I try to be pretty transparent so that the gold gesso will come through in a few places. And especially down here, I wipe off a lot too. All right, so I'm going to do that. And then I will come in with, it's hard to see where I'm going, but I do want to, whoops, Oh, yeah, really. That's okay. That's all part of the oopsies, right? So with my tissue, I'm just going to blot some of the color so that gold will come through. And we're going to let that dry for a minute. If I can move this around now. It's going to be fun to do. All right, so that's so when I'm doing dark colors or when I just want texture, I'll put multiple colors in there. Never, 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 never use one color. That can be boring. Well, never, never, never for me. You can do it. But for me, I always throw in some other colors in there because to me that's what makes it interesting. See, here's the stencil with the green and some quin. Here I have some ultramarine and a little carbazole violet. Some, looks like that was quin sienna and then my sap green. And it just makes things more interesting. Now, if I needed to, and I do want to show you this, even in a stencil, if I needed to make this line a little more defined, I can come back and just in a few places make that harder line for it to show up. Oh, did we? Oh. See, I came in here with a sharper, heavier pigment. It can't be watery because it'll seep under your stencil. So you want to make a heavier pigment there. Okay, now the blue area. Oh, I forgot my saran wrap. I always keep some wadded up saran wrap, and I kind of ran out of space, but I always leave just little strips. I don't like to use the whole big sheets of saran wrap because then when it's on there, people say, oh, look, that's saran wrap. And I don't necessarily want you to know how I did it, although I'm glad to tell you. But, you know, I want the viewer to have, I want it to have a little mystery. So that's why I use little pieces of saran wrap. And got to put that down. Okay, now we're going to go to, you can dry brush. Okay. Say again? Oh, I ran out of space, so I didn't put it. Now over here, I think in here, let me see if I can lift this up without it moving too bad. Right in here, there's a little saran wrap in here. You can look closer. I don't know if you can see it from there, but afterwards you can come up and look a little bit closer. And it looks like that could be a little saran wrap right there. Okay. Now, when you're doing a dry brush, I'm going to get my French I usually, where's my tube? Oh, we go. When I'm doing dry brush on gesso, I like to use the paint straight from the tube because I just need more strength and I don't want to have that watery effect. So I'm going to dry my brush off pretty good. And I love to use a flat brush when I do that. And I really load up the side edge of my brush. And then I'm going to come right, this is a light source. Okay, I'm going to come here, I'll lay my brush down and just push it over. And let me get a little more. Sometimes it takes, there we go, now we're working on it. And I like to have a pretty nice edge there, but I can come back in and it's going to end there. And I can bring my brush in. Let me, I'm not getting quite enough. I might be going too fast. But I like to get, ultramarine's one of my favorite blues. And I do like the way it comes out in its pure form onto the paper. I think it's just a really vibrant color. And so I will come back. This is the pod. Oh, by the way, this is a bird of paradise. Have you ever looked at a bird of paradise really close? Do you know this whole big pod is filled with all of these petals? And so when it starts to bloom, these petals start coming up like this. And then they start going all the way around and they die. And meanwhile, all of these petals are in here and they're all coming up at different times. And that's why on the back side of it, it has all those brown, dried up leaves. And then, of course, there's several of these. I think this is, Kathy, is this the stamen? She's our botanical person. Okay. And they have several of those in there, too, that are coming up. And they're just so fun to look at. And my great-grandson's pretty tolerant when we go for our walks. But he didn't like me to look there too long because he's got more things to see. And he doesn't like bugs. So even though I try to show him some cool-looking bugs. Now, this will dry a little dark, a little faded. So I will come back and do a second coat over here. Now here, even though I'm using, can you see these little marks in here? Even though I'm doing dry brush, I will come back and even put on stencils there because that gives it even more texture. And so I can come back. I don't like to, I'm a one and done kind of girl. And so coming back a second time is not my favorite, but I will do it because you have to sometimes. So here I'll just put, I think I'll put it in here. I want to mash that down because I want to make sure I get, because this is drier pigment, doesn't have as much water in there, you have to kind of mash it down. Let me see if that's going to work. All right. And you have to, you know, like Mark said yesterday, you just have to go with what's going on and make adjustments here and there. And so if it's not enough water, I'll add a little bit more. But I don't want to, I really want that blue to come out. So I'm going to really make sure I add more pigment there. And then I would come over and I would finish this part. Now I want to, hopefully, these are going to dry. Did these dry pretty quick in your workshops, the paint behind the stencils? Yes? Yes, no, I had a photograph. And actually, it was a photograph. There were probably 3. This is the other thing. Out of that pod will come another stem with another pod of a flower on it. And this one had actually 3 pods coming out of that one. And so I zoomed in. I do a lot of stuff on my phone. I have one of these little apples. And let's see if I go to, okay, well, for example, this one, I don't think I have her up here. But this is a photograph I took of my granddaughter. We were in Pier 1, and they had these crazy, I can't remember if it was Mardi Gras or Halloween, but she was putting this on. She was by the window when I took the picture. And then this is also on, no, this is not gold gesso. This is just gessoed paper. And so I will take my picture and really move it around, blow it up to get the shape and my composition, basically. And then I'll take the picture, then I'll put that in no tanizer and get my values. And then I will even go, I have an app called Becasso, B-E-C-A-S-S-O. And I'll put my photographs in there, and they have all kind of crazy colors. And that'll give me some ideas, some inspiration that I will use. Okay, oopsie. There we go. All right, that was a good question. Oh, there we are. See how we're getting some of the lines even in the dry brush area. Okay, now I want to do, this is the part I like the best now because I love it. My favorite parts of my paintings are where I get the glow. And so I've got a little gold, a little pink in there. A mixture I love is this is a permanent orange. And I do use Daniel Smith primarily. But I do have a few other colors. If you've taken any classes with Kathy Durden, she's got 1,000 colors. And she'll say, oh, this is a schminky whatever, whatever. Well, the next thing I know, guess what's coming in my mail? Thank you, Kathy. But she comes up with some beautiful colors. This is opera. Now, I love what opera, I don't mix it totally together. I do want it to kind of blend to its own way. But I love what opera does. Yeah, OPRA. Yeah, it's a Holbein color. And I love what it does with the orange. Let me drop a little bit more in there. Then I'm going to let some stuff do some running. Oh, I do need to smooth that down a little bit. I want to soften that edge just a little bit so it looks like it. And the other fun thing about this is when you have your dirty water, you see the gold swirling around in there. My mom used to tell me I was a kaleidoscope because she never knew what I was going to come up with. I mean, personality-wise, or probably trouble-wise, I don't know. But she'd say, you're just a kaleidoscope. I never know what you're going to do each morning. I wasn't a bad kid, though. But, all right, so I just want it to look kind of natural there as I come around. And then, let's see if this will work. I'll let it do a little running. I don't want it to totally blend. I want to keep, oh, wow, there we go. Kind of like that, but I still want to soften this edge just a little bit here. And as that dries, then I can come back with my blue, and I'll let those two marry a little bit later with a little bit of green in here. And it's darker up here, so I'm going to go into my alizarin crimson. And I really want, I'm going to leave this edge here pretty much the gesso color. So this will kind of move down into that wet paint, and I can get my darker value here. I'm going to put a little carbazole violet in here. I don't usually do that until the very end, but I really want to show you some of the things that can happen here. And I'm not real, I like to do a lot of dot dashing sometimes, just to give it, see, that's where all the bugs were. And I will come in, before this is over, I will come in with some splatters of paint, and I will come in even with some splatters, might be too late on that, splatters of water to see what happens. But okay, so let's move on. Let me see. Stencil, okay, water. Oh, and then, of course, alcohol works. All right. This is one of the reasons I love to do painting on gesso, especially the gold gesso, and it's called ghosting. And what it is white gesso. And so I'm going to pour a little bit in here. There we go. And add a little bit of water. Let me put my brushes over there. Because when I paint, sometimes I'm not paying attention. And I have used my good watercolor brushes accidentally, so I have to move them out of the way. But that's why I have to, as an artist, I have, and I guess it's because I was a teacher too, you know, you have to have good habits. And so I always have my palette, my water, my blotting cloth, and my coffee over here. Because if I don't have that habit, the next thing I know, you know, I'm dipping. So if you have good habits, that kind of takes the guesswork out of it. So that frees you to do what you want to do and not have to worry, now what did I do with my coffee? Oh, there's my coffee, you know, whatever. Okay, now, ghosting, I learned this technique from Libet Jones. If you've ever taken her multimedia class, you know, you've got all of these bright fluid acrylic colors on your UPO paper, and you got to come up with a lighter value. So one of the things, one of her techniques is to put down the water. So this is my white petal, and so I'm going to put down the water. I will be a little careful here because, of course, where the water is, that's where the color is going to go. And I will even sometimes leave a little of the gold gesso showing. I'm going to be just a little careful here. Can't be too careful because we do have a time factor. And then you got to make sure you don't want it soaking, but you want it damp enough so that the color will kind of just roll around. Oops, went over the line. That's okay. Well, let me go there. All right, one more little spot right here. And then you come in with your, move my brush there. I think I need a little more water here. This is white gesso. And then, all right, some of these may fall off, but that's just what's going to have to happen. So you put the color down, a little bit more water. It has to be kind of runny enough that it will spread in that water. Oh, there we go. And this is just an old acrylic brush. And so I may not have it quite. This isn't a hot light. No, but it sure does seem like it's, no, it just seems like it's drying awfully quick. All right, let me see. I don't have my spray bottle. Okay, I'm going to come back here with a little bit more water. Because normally what this does is, and you know, you have these little things that happen, so you have to figure out what to do next and make it work. Now I think I'm going to get some, got gesso on that brush. Now let's see what's going on. All right, now we're going to start. Of course, I have too much. I'm going to have to do a little blotting. All right, we just may have to do this the fast and easy way. I'll just get the gesso on there because this is the fun part. Is I love to see. It makes such a smooth finish. All right, let's see if we can get that to move now. Maybe not yet. If I had my spray bottle, that would have helped. I tried to, you know how we come with our buggies full of stuff? I tried not to bring too much. And of course, when you do that, you always want one more thing. Now, we're going to make this work. It's going to have to do a lot of blotting, though, because we're going to make a mess. I don't like that brush. I'm just going to have to go in with my good brush. Is silver black velvet here? I hope, because I may need a new one after this is over. All right, I think once we get this moving, and I think we're going to go now. All right, now then, now it's starting to move. So you want to get this, and I just love doing this. And then you can see, make it come down this way a little bit. See how that's starting to make such, it's kind of a ghosty effect because it's very transparent. Oh, these are all going to come off. That's okay. And where it starts to drip, I will, because it's gesso, it's not going to mess it up. I'll just come, well, I could make it go this way a little bit more. Although I kind of, no, that's going the wrong direction. I'll just come back with my tissue. I can just wipe it right off. And if but you have to be careful because you will wipe off the color too, because this is just watercolor. But I will go back and forth and get it the way the effect I'm looking for. But then I can also come back with this. This is French ultramarine, and let me see. It was this side. Wait, I have to turn it around to remember which way it was. Okay. My lights were supposed to come from this way. So this side was a little darker. I can come back with a little blue in here, and it will just kind of blend with that white gesso and even tint it sometimes. And you'll see on that one, I think I used green on that one, or bluish green. And so you can add the colors to the jet. Maybe I want to put a little, see if I have a clean spot. I'm going to add a little lemon yellow over here, because this is my light source over here. And so maybe I want that just a touch brighter. Now when you do this though, now I can't let this go all the way over here now, or this go all the way over here, or I'm going to have a disaster. But I can let it go up and down. And then if I feel like I want more coverage, not as transparent in an area, I can come back and add a little more gesso to that and let it also run. Let's see if that's going to work. I think I might have let it get too dry there. But you can keep, and I can, of course, can let it dry and come back and do the whole ghosting part again if I wanted to. But I usually like some of that gold gesso to come through like it's doing there. And I'm starting to get a little buckle there. But you'll see on this one, I tried to keep my color up here. I came in with the carbazole down here, but like I said, when it dried and it created the ripple in there, it just did that. So I had thought I would just wash it off, cover the whole thing with gold gesso again and start again. But I keep this to remind me. I keep this to remind me. Got to have some, because I have a short memory. And I'll say, oh, I'll do this. Oh, I just did that, and it didn't work that time. All right, so I think I want to go ahead and, because I'm not happy with that part of the gold gesso, I'm going to go ahead and try this little spot over here. See if we can get this to work better this time. Because this is the best part of it. And you're not getting to see that. This time I think I'm going to add some of this blue in here, because this leaf has already reached his prime, so maybe he's not as white and bright. A little more blue there. And I also have one of those kitchen spray bottles. It's Mister, and that is great to use on this. Oh, too much water there. And that's lots of fun to use, because you can mist it and it makes it wet, but not as, now I'm going to have, I don't do this at home two at the same time, because then you have to keep your eye on both sides, and I know I can't do that. But I will go back and forth, letting this, where'd it go? Here it is. Letting that roll back and forth here. And let's come down this way. Oopsie. I have to be careful, because that could go right into that easily. Get this over here. Don't want to mess it up too much here. All right, and so that's probably not as white as I would like it, so I probably would come back and do another coat of the ghosting on it, because I want a little more contrast, I think. But when it dries, it's going to be totally different, so then you have to make that evaluation. Am I going to do something else or not? Let's see, what else do I need to tell you about? So The bad things about gold gesso, it is already your medium value, so you have to plan ahead. The paint is going to sit on top, so don't expect it to, you know, go into your paper fibers. You do have to work around. See here how it's blending over. So I know when I blot this, though, I'm going to take up some of the paint from that side, but that's okay. I can always go back. One of the fun parts is you can do the ghosting. When you're mixing colors, they really mingle and mix nicely when you put stencils on them. See, here's the stencils that we used earlier, and look how the pigment just kind of goes into, you know, gathers around. I think this was this one. Goes to the edge of the little stencil marks, and that's what makes that interesting textures. This is the snake one. Doesn't show up too much right in here, but then this one's right over here. So this is, it's lots of fun to use your stencils, to use your saran wrap. It didn't show up much. What else do I love about gold gesso? I like the glow. I like that gold coming through. Ron had a picture up earlier. Were those yellow flowers hanging down? I didn't know what kind of tree it was, but it had all these yellows, kind of like lilacs, but they were yellow, hanging down, and I thought that would be such a great picture to do the gold gesso on. Say again? Oh, is that what that is? Oh, see, I love having gardeners in class. You knew about how those bird of paradise. Oh, did you? Aren't they so fun? I took them to class one day and cut one open. They're, I think that's very true, yeah. But then I got to know more about it, so cutting it open was fun too. That's how I really learned. Okay, oh, of course these are always good to use. I would have, this is my sandpaper, I would have probably, if it were still wet, you know, grated a little of my watercolor crayon on it, or you can make some marks in it, you know, and then when, I'll make this a little bluer. And then when you come back, ooh, I'm going to have to wrench that brush out before I wreck it. When you come back, then that watercolor crayon will add another little marks to it. I mean, you could even not paint them. You could just leave the crayon there to make marks. Maybe I'll have one. That's a little too bright of a green. Maybe I'll come back with a little. Tone that down a little bit. Maybe tone it down. No, I think I'll just blot it out a little bit, fade it in, so it becomes part of it, but not too much. So that just gave me a little more color to it. Just anything, because, you know, when you, especially on bird of paradises, there's all kind of bugs, and they leave little calling cards, and so there's lots of speckles and all kinds of cool things happening in plants, and that's what makes I like to paint plants and things, because you can get all that texture in there and make it interesting. And I like to tell stories with my paintings and tell my class, oh, well, this bug came across there and whatever happened. You know, it's got a little marks in there. So that's kind of the way I did this. And I would probably come back, and there's lots more I would do as far as working on this. This is a light pattern coming through here, so I have to make that darker. I'll leave the light pattern as the gold gesso. I might come in with a little brushing of some of the white gesso, but probably not. This will still be, that's green. This is some white there as well. So that's how I would go about doing gold gesso. Just remember, it's lots of fun to do, but you have to work around those oopsies and those problems, but that just makes it more fun. I like to just plan all kinds of things. Yes, oh, we have a question. Over here, please. Thanks, Shirley.
Where was that hand? I'm sorry. I think I'm loud enough. I'm a new painter. I just wanted to know how you put the gesso on to make it smooth. It looks like it's real smooth. Can you hear me? Okay. What do you use to put the gold gesso on?
I don't. I use a brush like this. This is my watercolor brush, a 2-inch brush, but it's one that's for acrylic. And I will do the gold gesso one
Just
way,
like that?
let it dry, and then come back and do it again the other
Okay.
direction. And if you use a soft brush, that will keep your brush marks out. But if you use a stiffer brush, you know, then it is going to show the lines.
Okay. Do you put it on thin and with water or not with water?
Oh, I forgot to tell you all that. I do. It comes out, let me open this up. It's pretty liquidy, see?
Okay.
But I still will add just a little bit more water to make it spread, especially the first coat.
Okay.
Because you've got all that being absorbed into your paper.
And we're
I don't
doing
want
it-
all my, I mean, this bag 10 years ago was $35,
Okay.
which to me that was high.
Yeah.
But now, and this, I got it on Amazon, and it was still, I think it was 18. But I
Oh.
did see where I think Cheap Joe's is carrying it now, and it seemed like it was like 15.
Okay.
So I don't feel quite so bad. But still, I'm not wasteful, but
Yeah.
that first coat is always going to absorb so much. I just mix a little water. The second coat, I don't.
You second coat, you don't. Thank you.
Another question?
I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Okay, do you pour that into something else or use it right out of the thing?
When I'm mixing it with water, I keep these little cups handy.
Okay.
And I'll pour it in there, mix it with water, then brush
And
it on.
put it on.
And then if I have any left over, though, I do pour it back in there. Even though it's watered down, it's not that much. Yes. And I usually go this way first, back and forth, and then I come up this way. But when you're using that soft brush, that second coat, after you get it on there, come back and very lightly, don't push down. When you push down, that's when you're going to get your streaks. But if you're just very lightly with just kind of kissing it, it'll smooth it out. Now I will do both sides. I learned from Mark.
Oh, both
but
sides.
before I only did the one side. Okay, question?
When you are applying the gesso at the beginning, do you have to tape the paper to something so it doesn't wrinkle? Or
I hate that question because then I have to confess I'm a lazy painter. I don't paint, I don't tape, I don't staple. I just put the paper down and paint.
Wow.
And
And
I'm a lazy
fold,
painter.
It doesn't fold, it doesn't wrinkle. Or
Oh, this is 300.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is 300.
When you're putting gesso, if you put the gesso on the other side, you must use just plain gesso, not gold, right?
Yeah. Now that,
Okay.
you know, Mark shared that information, I'll use white gesso because it's not as expensive. Although he did say, you know, if he doesn't like it, he flips it over. But I would still use white gesso. Save me money.
How long have you been doing the gold gesso?
It's been about 10 years.
And do you do all your paintings with gold gesso, or do you vary?
No. This is, no, not all of them. I do a lot straight on plain watercolor paper, very transparent. Yeah.
Which do you like best?
Well, you know, I'm a kaleidoscope. So it depends on what mood I'm in.
You're looking for something new, huh?
If I've already got a messy studio, I'll go to gold gesso. But after I get it all cleaned up, I want to stay nice and neat. But then it gets messy quick, so then I'll go do something messy.
I've used gold gesso for several paintings, and I find, to me, it's more fun because it's more forgiving.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about using it.
It is more forgiving, but it's more challenging because sometimes when you have that, what the heck is I'm going to do with this? I mean, if I decided that I just hate, and I'll just go ahead and do this because we can. Maybe I say, I hate that, although I do like, actually I like that one. I think I'll do it to this one. I can come back and with my brush, I can pretty much take out all of this back to gold. See, I'm just kind of scrubbing a little bit with water. I can go back to gold and then it's gone. That whatever it was you didn't like. You know?
Yeah, that's what I think is fun about
Yeah.
it.
So see, and if I do it a little bit more, it'll go back to gold, and then it's new paper.
Roberta,
Yes.
do you ever pour the gold gesso onto the paper rather than brush it? And do you ever mix it with other colors?
When
When you're using the darker gesso and you want it lighter, can you just mix it with white to make it the lighter gesso? Or do you lose the gold quality?
I think it would be more of a pastel effect then. I never tried it. When I'm feeling like I want to do gold gesso today, I'm in a hurry, I will kind of, after I mix that first coat of gesso and water, I will kind of pour it all over and then brush it out. But when I'm taking my time and doing it right, I don't. But it's a good idea to try it though, see what would happen. But I don't have enough of it really now to, I've tried to scrape as much as I can out. You took Mary Lou's class too, huh? You took Mary Lou's class too. It was. Oh.
You mentioned a couple of apps when you were working with your photos, and I didn't catch those. Could you tell us again?
When I have my photo, I will put it, and I learned this from Kathy, the Notanizer, Notanizer. Okay, Notanizer, and that will take your colored photo or whatever, and you can choose whether you want 2 values, 3 values, 4 values, and then you can adjust that so that that's kind of how I do my quick value sketch, and then I can get all my values that way.
Was there another one?
And then the other one is called Becasso, Picasso. And I think there's a free version that does some of the choices, but I think it's only like 2 or 3, no more than $5. And then you can really get a lot of different color combinations and some ideas. And it has an oil section of colored pencil, a watercolor, different things you can try.
There's a whole bunch of watercolor apps that you can get. There's Waterlog and Paint Can and Picasso, Waterbrush. There used to be one that we used a lot, and then they got weird. So now we've explored other ones, and we like Picasso and we like Waterlog. And if you've never used them, they're a lot of fun. They're not that expensive because they're apps for your phone. And they give you great color things to work off of. B is in boy. And then there's Waterlog.
And there's Waterbrush. I haven't tried Waterbrush, but I just loaded it.
Waterlog, Paint Can. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. And brush stroke. I mean, you just wander around and see which one you like the best.
And that's fun to do. I use those a lot at night when I'm watching TV. I don't really watch TV, but the TV's on. And so I'll go through my pictures and think, oh, what if I do this? And so I was trying to see if I could find it. I don't know if you can see it in the phone, though. But like this particular picture, I probably put that in Picasso and probably took a snapshot of maybe 10 of them. And then I'll look at them and say, I kind of like this maybe, but I like that one. And then I'll just kind of combine. It would take me forever to find it in this phone. Oh, wait, here's one. Let me see. So this is my granddaughter. Whoops. Can you see this?
No, you're gonna have to turn it this way, Roberta. It's camera's pointing at you.
Oh, this way?
Oh, Mark changed. They changed it.
This way?
Now down. Now down. Flat. Perfect.
Okay. So this is my granddaughter. This is nope, that's not the original picture. Where's the original picture? Nope, that's me. Okay. So this is one of the colored versions in. Oh, that way? Okay. in Picasso. That was another idea. That was another idea. I was another idea. So these are just some ideas they give you, and then you can say, well, I kind of like the glow of that, so I want to make sure I do that. But then what else could I do? Maybe I could do it with blue. You know, it just gives you good ideas, I think. And so I sit there at night watching television and going through all these, taking all these picture snapshots of some different ideas, and then that's how I come up with what I'm going to paint, how I'm going to paint. Any more questions? I do encourage you to give this a try, though. You may not love it, but give it a try. And if you don't want to invest in the gold gesso, try it on white gesso. And you'll get an idea of how things work. And it really is so much fun. Okay, question.
You're using transparent watercolor,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Have you ever tried using acrylic on the gesso?
In Libby's class, we use fluid acrylic, and it is transparent. It's lots of fun as well. But I'm a messy person, and I won't use that at home.
Okay.
So when I'm at the art center and we have these big tables and big cloths, I'll do it there. But I won't do it at home because I'm just too messy. I mean, even with my water bucket, I paint right next to a window. And even just doing this, cleaning my brush on my plantation shutters here, every 2 or 3 months my granddaughter will come. She needs money. And I'll say, okay, take a cloth, and there's where I splatter the paint on my plantation shutters. So I'll pay her, you know, $25 to clean this. Works out good. It's good to have grandkids that need money. Okay, any more questions? All right, well, I encourage you to try it. I think you'll have lots and lots of fun. I'm on RomeToItaly@yahoo.com. Send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank y'all.